an equation whose degree is 1. What's the word from last unit? Degree. So let's just refresh. What does the degree of a polynomial mean? Yeah, the highest exponent. So first skill you need to be able to do is to look at an equation and know, is it linear, yes or no? And this is going to become important more next year once we start adding different kinds of equations, because the first thing you need to do is identify it. So linear, yes or no. What you're looking for is there any exponent that's greater than 1? No. So if 1 is the highest exponent, is it linear? Yes. Okay, I'll just repeat how we knew that. There's no exponent greater than 1, because we don't see an exponent on the y, but what do we know it is? And we don't see an exponent on the x, but what do we know it is? So is there any other exponent higher than 1? No, that means it's linear. Second one, take a look. Any exponents greater than 1? No, so then it is, yes, linear. Next one is brackets, don't care. We're still just looking through the exponents. Is there any exponent other than 1? So it is linear. Here's what we call a counterexample. So what do you see on the x? An exponent of 2. Does that make it linear? No. You'll meet them next year. Those are called quadratics. The last one, ooh, what do we see? A cubed. Is that linear? No. That's called a cubic function, which you'll meet in grade 11. Thumbs up whether you can tell if an equation is linear. I get this, I'm kind of getting this, I'm not getting this, because it's the first thing we need to do. Is it linear, yes or no? Perfect. Now we're going to go to the graph. The graph of a linear equation is a... We talked about this yesterday. It is a... What does linear mean? Line. What just ticks me off? Straight line. Don't say straight line. Straight line just drives me crazy. Here's a linear equation. Why did I put the line there? No reason. It's a line. Here's a linear equation. Now we have a special name for that kind of line. What do we call it? Perfectly up and down, we call it vertical. Here's another kind of line that we have a special name of. Horizontal. I'm going to change colors and do a non-example. Ooh, what the heck is that? Yeah, that's actually the quadratic you're going to meet next year. So this guy is not linear.
Are we supposed to be doing this?
It's up to you. So what I just introduced is actually the second skill you need to know from today, which is looking at a graph. Tell me if it's linear, yes or no. So the equation, it's the highest degree is 1. The graph, it's a line. If it's not a line, it's not linear. Well, here's the kinds of questions we're going to look at as we are interpreting graphs. And these are just like regular word problems, so we're going to do the same method. First is just read it, just look at it, don't overthink it. What's it about? You may have understood that it's money because there's a dollar sign. What else would you have gotten from it? Snow shoveling. And that's probably all you got the first time through. It's something about snow shoveling. Great.
There's a spelling mistake.
Oh, yes, there is. Where? Shows. That's like something different. Now we're going to highlight the key terms just like we did before. Do we care his name is Bob?
No.
Do we care for who he is shoveling snow or show?
No.
What we really care about is the fact that he's shoveling. We care what the axes are, so we care the bottom is number of driveways, and we care that the vertical axis or the y-axis is money earned. So just like with a regular word problem, we want to highlight key information, and usually that's the title and the axes of the graph. Okay, U-turn, I'm going to keep the graph up here. U-turn so that you don't have to keep flipping, I'm going to keep the graph up here. So the skill we're doing is called interpreting graphs, and that just means answering questions and getting information off a graph. So the first question is, how much does Bob earn? By shoveling 3 driveways. What are the key words in there? 3. How much? Anything else you think is important? Earn, okay, because that tells you it's earning money. How do we get that off of a graph? That's all we're practicing today, is just reading graphs and getting information. How do we figure that out? Yeah, we go to 3 driveways, and then we go up, and we go over. That's it. That's all we're practicing today, is reading a graph. How much does he earn after shoveling 3 driveways? $60. Write that down. The second part, what about 6? Offer of 120? Confirm 120? 120 is the answer. Read to read part B. So don't overthink, don't start to analyze, just read it like it's a sentence in a book. Tell me what you got from the first reading. He's shoveling. Okay. Probably something happened. What happened? He had to go have supper, right? And that's all you're going to get the first time through. Now let's read to understand. What are some key words in the question? Do we care he's shoveling for Mrs. Smith? The Harpers. Well, we do care those number of people. So how many complete driveways did he shovel? 2. And then what happened on the third one? Halfway would be a key. So how many driveways in total did he shovel? 2.5 or 2.5. That's what you need to get out of the question. Now, before we get that off the graph, we want to fill in the definition of what's called interpolation. And I'm actually only going to highlight the word inter, because that's a key to help you understand what it means. And I'm going to highlight in the next box extrapolation, and I'm going to highlight extra, because that's the difference between the two, is really the first part of the word. Interpolation is calculating a value on a graph that is in between two given points. Calculating a value on a graph that is in between 2 given points. I'm going to highlight in between. You stay, I'm going to flip back to the graph. We're given dots at 2 and we're given dots at 3. Were we given a dot at 2.5? No, that's why this is called interpolation, because we need to go in between 2 and 3, and we are going in between 2 given dots. That's what the word means. Interpolation is going in between. So we go up just like we did before. We go over just like before. How much money did he earn? $50. Write that down for part B. What does the prefix inter mean? So intramurals, for example. In the middle or in between. When do we have intramurals? What time of the day? Lunch, halfway through. That's why this means in between 2 given points. Let's highlight that note. This should only be used when it makes sense to do so. And that's one of the homework questions is going to be, does it make sense to interpolate this question? So can you shovel a partial driveway? Yeah. Yes. Okay. Could you eat a partial bag of chips? Well, really, it depends. I cannot. But yes, yes, you can. If it was people, could we do something with 5.2 people? Doesn't make sense, right? So we only do interpolation when it makes sense in the situation. If we were counting number of elephants, could we have 4.7 elephants? Doesn't make sense in that situation. Do you understand what the word interpolation means? If Bob earned $40 on Sunday, how many driveways did he shovel? So again, I'll show you the graph. You stay on the page. How are we going to figure out how many graphs, $40? I don't have a 40 on the bottom.
You have to look at the money earned.
Yeah, so all we're doing is going backwards this time. We're looking for $40. We're coming across, going down. How many driveways? Write it down. How many driveways did Bob need to shovel if he wants $70 to buy a new video game? I heard an offer of 5.5, offer of 6.5, offer of 3.5. That sounds confirmed. 3.5.
Oh, sorry.
Do you understand how to interpret a graph?
Oh, no, yeah, I just.
What does the word extrapolation mean? So it starts the same way, calculating a value on a graph. Calculating a value on a graph, that is. So inter meant in between. What does extra mean? Outside. So that is either higher or lower than the given points. What am I going to highlight in this? So what's different from the last definition? Higher or lower. Extra means outside, on top of. Inter means in between. So I'm going to go back to the graph. An example of extrapolation, if I said, how much money does he earn from 7 driveways? Why is that called extrapolation? Because where does the graph stop? 6. So if we want to go to 7, we have to extend the graph. So how much would Bob earn if he shoveled 7 driveways? 140. Do you understand the difference between interpolation, extrapolation? Inter means inside, in between. Extra means outside. Again, we're going to highlight the note. This should be used when it makes sense. For example, if we're dealing with height, would we go below 0? Would we go into negative numbers? Why not? Well, then you'd be in a hole in the ground, which is just weird. If we were doing temperature, would we go past 0? Would we go into the negative numbers? Sure. Okay. What if we were doing number of elephants? No, we're not going to use negatives. Why not? Can't have negative elephants. Example 2, let's put all that together, and here's a typical example. No words are given. All we give in the graph. That doesn't mean you don't highlight, because there's still key information we need to pick up on. What's the key information? Weight and price. Weight of what? Anything. Do we care? Nope, question hasn't said. And I don't know why the price has an R. Can you put a $sign there? That was supposed to be a $sign. Turn and talk. Someone just in front, behind, beside you, do party together. Tell me the price of 15 kilograms of this stuff. Seems like we have an answer. Turn back and share. $300, I heard somebody say. How did you get that? You went 15, up to the graph, over 300. So here's a typical question that you'll see in the homework. It says, does it make sense in this situation to use interpretation to find the price of 12.25 kilograms? I'm saying 10.25 kilograms. So you always need to think about the situation. Does it make sense we can have a weight in between 10 and 15? Could you have a partial kilogram of something? Sure. Explain your answer. Why? Why does it make sense? You can, I heard somebody say. Now it all goes quiet. You can buy partial kilograms. What do we call? What's the measurement that's a partial kilogram? What's smaller than a kilogram? A gram, right? So you can buy something in grams. So get the answer, turn and talk. Do we have an answer? And we're going to have to estimate a little bit here. We know it's more than 200. How much more than 200? Can we come to consensus? 250, 50? A little bit lower, 225. Why do we know it's not 250, that that's too high? Because that's going to be right in between, and what's in between 12, or 10, I just told you, 10 and 15? 12.5. I'd even go a little bit lower. I'm just going to grab my red pen. Sometimes you're going to see this symbol in the textbook. So it's like a wavy equal sign. Does anyone know what that means? Vlad? It means approximately. It means you estimated. It's about that. If your answer is close, we're good to go. So if you see a wavy equal sign, that's all it means, is we've approximated. Turn and talk, 350. Figure out how many kilograms we can buy.